I found Quentin had sunk into an armchair. Open-mouthed and silent, he sat as if transfixed by the shadows now darting and receding across the complex patterns of the oriental rug. The light from the grate, the light from the candle he still gripped loosely in his hand, dragged at his sallow cheeks like red fingers, like a premonition of hell-fire. I removed the taper from his slack grasp and used it to light a lamp on the table beside his chair. Standing over him, I contemplated his macabre transformation with bafflement and with sorrow. Sorrowful indeed it was, and more sorrowful yet for my memories of what he'd been not half a year before. Then, in my rooms in town, we had sat, like the schoolfellows we lately were, casually flung over chair and settee, debating long into the night with all the gay ferocity of old. A churchman with a lucrative Sussex living, Quentin was, as he had ever been, a fervent defender of the faith, an apologist for Newman, a supporter of Pusey, an ardent advocate of the high ritual and the deep mysterium. I, a physician with a small but growing practice in Harley Street, was equally determined to ride out upon the lists for science, to preach reason and experiment, as the keys to comprehending the internal mechanisms of this clockwork life. How well I remembered the passion with which Quentin opposed me, the brightness of his eyes, the vibrancy of his voice, as he proclaimed the miraculous and supernatural as our surest guides to the truth. Now, not a fortnight since he had returned to Ravenswood to settle the affairs appending to the sudden death of his elder brother and sister-in-law, his strong, open face was lined and sunken, his lean, manly frame as much a ruin as the fragments of the old abbey that stood without the Grange's walls. For all my physic, I could think to offer him nothing better than a dash of brandy. This, my hand supporting his wrist, he raised unsteadily to his lips. The medicine had its effect. Coughing slightly, he set the empty glass beside the lamp, blinked, and looked up at me, as if for the first time. "Neville," he said, "thank heaven you've come." "Of course I've come, old fellow," I responded, as bluffly as I could. "As soon as I got your letter. But what the devil's the matter? You look as if you've been through hell." At this, some memory seemed to rekindle the terror in his eyes. He turned from me and stared into the now blazing fire. "You were wrong, you know, Neville." "Wrong? In what respect?" "All of it, said he, his tone mournful. "There is a world beyond the world we know. There is a world beyond, and it's... But he did not, could not, finish. Rather, lifting his face once more, he showed to me an expression of such pitiable horror that no further utterance was necessary. "Neville," he whispered then, galvanized suddenly, leaning towards me urgently. "Neville, I have seen it. I have seen her." "Her? Who?" I said sharply. I was moved to irritation by the chill that had begun to edge up my spine. "What the devil are you talking about? Whom have you seen?" With that, the energy seemed to drain out of him. The poor fellow subsided weakly in his chair, his chin sunk on his chest, his features limp. His voice, when it came again, was as solemn as the echo from an empty tomb. "Black Annie," was all he said. I did not know whether to laugh at this or to recoil at the further evidence of his disturbed senses. In the end, averting my face to hide my reactions from him, I said merely, "I say, do you think there's anything to eat in this mausoleum?" Fortunately, there was, for it now transpired that not all the servants had entirely deserted the place. One girl, at least, in very pity for her young master, as I suspected, remained. She had agreed to attend to my friend's needs by daylight, on the stipulation that she might be well away from the house before the onset of dusk. Thus, on investigation, I found a cold repast had already been laid out in the dining-room. No more than a modest portion of mutton, a half loaf of bread, and a rather unfortunate claret. Still, it sufficed. I brought the provisions into the sitting-room, where we made a rude feast of them before the hearth.